let's transition. Let's get off this political thing. Let's move on to something else. Disrespect. Now, I don't know how many of you are sports fans that listen. Most of you probably are. Or if you're not a sports fan, you know what disrespect is. Let's just be honest. Disrespect is identified by whoever is being disrespected. That's why you hear people most of the time say, no disrespect. Because that's a caveat to say, I'm about to disrespect you, but I don't mean for you to take it that I'm disrespecting you. You see where I went there, right? No disrespect. Here we go. So the other day, Russell Westbrook plays for the Washington Wizards. Sprained his ankle during the game, hobbling off the court, and he's walking through the tunnel that you go through, and a fan upstairs decided he wanted to dump popcorn on him. They were in Philadelphia. He dumped popcorn down on Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook was incensed. Not only because the popcorn, but he was already upset because he had twisted his ankle, and now he's not available to play at that time to finish out the game. They dumped popcorn down on him. He was pissed. He was trying to get away. The guards held him back and everything. Good thing they didn't let him go. Somebody probably would have got hurt, and probably the wrong person, because cowards usually run. Let's just be honest. But then another incident happened in Madison Square Garden between the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks. Trae Young, Atlanta Hawks guard, taking the ball out of bounds. Fan, second row up. 50 Cent, he's sitting here. His girlfriend, Cuban Link, here. A couple other people, but this guy was like right above them. Trae Young standing right in front of them. He's about to get the ball from the referee, and the fan spit on him. Trae Young didn't know. He kind of shook it off because he felt something cool, I guess, or felt something different hitting his back. Report came out, this man spit on him. When did we, as a society, let's just go as a society, because these are two extreme incidents, other than if you look back, the Malice at the Palace, when Ron Artest and a couple other Pacers players went into the stands up in Detroit and beat them down. It was a big riot. That was a riot. The Capitol was an insurrection. But anyway, I digress. So to throw popcorn on somebody and to spit, to take the time in a packed arena to spit on an athlete who has done nothing to you, spitting on someone is the lowest grade of anything you can do, in my opinion. But these athletes are subjected to things. You know, we always tell these athletes that they're put up on a pedestal, because most fans put their team, the athletes that play for their teams, on this pedestal because they are so entrenched in their team that they love their players that much. But then fans go awry, and Trae Young made a statement and said, he's not going to press any charges or whatever. Couldn't be me. As somebody mentioned, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The pandemic's not over, and this man spit on an athlete who he doesn't know whether the guy's vaccinated, all the different things we hear about the pandemic, and you just spit freely on someone. Now, I want to break it down to the visuals of this. Some people will agree, some people won't. Your choice. The visuals of this is a white man dumped popcorn on a black athlete. A white man spit on a black athlete. In an arena full of people where 9 times out of 10 consequences wouldn't have been held accountable. He wouldn't have been held accountable for his actions. But the level that they're at now, with the playoffs going on, national TV audience, all these things, accountability has to come into play. But my question comes in, and somebody can chime in with this, is when did we get to the point where this is acceptable? When did we get to the point where we see this and think nothing of it? When did people get comfortable enough to pay for a ticket to go to see an athletic event and think they can treat those participating any way they want? Because if you look at the, who's on the basketball court, majority black men. But this fan felt comfortable enough, let me say that again, comfortable enough to spit on $1 million a year being paid to play basketball, young man, but he's a man before he's a basketball player. Let's go there. But this organization is paying him millions of dollars to go out there and produce on their basketball court. And you have someone who's a fan of the opposite team who is also getting paid millions of dollars to produce out on the court and felt freely to spit on him. Now, I'm not downplaying the popcorn incident because it was popcorn this time. What is it next time? It was spit this time. What is it next time? Disrespect. And then we hear the incident that started off the Tulsa race massacre where someone accused someone of something that they didn't do and the whole damn city was burnt down. But you feel comfortable enough to spit on someone. What does that come from? What does that say? What kind of message have we put out into the atmosphere where someone feels that comfortable to spit on someone, anyone? And I said this yesterday in a conversation that I was having with somebody. Dogs, cats, pets as a whole are given more respect than black folks. I said it. People who have pets show more respect to an animal that has bitten them, defecated on the carpet, pissed on their carpet, bit the children, so on and so forth. You see where I'm going? They cuddle them, they hug them, they love them, they do whatever they got to take them to the vet, pay them thousands of dollars to keep them healthy. And I ain't saying nothing against no pet lovers out there. You do what you do. But when you take into account a pet's life is more important than a person that's walking the face of this earth's life, you got an issue. When you look down on somebody because of the color of their skin more than you do when you look at that dog or that animal, and you have more love in your heart for that animal than you do a normal, everyday human being, you have an issue. And then you have some people out here who have animals that are blacker than the people that they can't stand. I said it. They are black. They got black dogs, black cats, black, whatever, deep, dark black. But they love that animal more than they love the breathing human being who may work with them, who may be their neighbor. I didn't want to go there today. Facts are facts. Facts are facts. Disrespect. Good morning, Chinita. Great topic. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. Thanks for tuning in. Facts are facts. But you get mad when an athlete decides to take his future into his own hands and go from one team to another because he's not playing for your team anymore. But then the disrespect that you show while he's there, why would I stay? A lot of people still have a problem with LeBron James going back to Cleveland after the owner talked so bad about him, took out a full-page article about him. But LeBron James, in his retort, said, hey, I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing it for the people of Akron, the people of Cleveland, where I'm from. That's why I'm coming back. I want to bring them a championship. And he did that. He got the hell out of town. It is what it is. But we need to stop looking at these athletes as just athletes. They're human beings that deserve respect. And that transitions my way into the new internet sensation, Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown. For y'all that don't know, that may not know, or you've seen him online and everything and wondering what the big thing about, Kwame Brown was had a 13-year NBA career. He made over $63 million during his career. He was the number 1 pick in 2001 draft by the Washington Wizards. Michael Jordan was in charge. I want y'all to remember this. Michael Jordan was in the front office when they drafted the number 1. Kwame Brown stood 6'11", 270 pounds, 17 years old, coming straight out of high school, going to the Washington Wizards, going to the NBA. He played 607 games. He averaged 6.6 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 0.9 assists. Kwame Brown, throughout his career, because of where he was drafted, because of how he played, how many different teams he played on or whatever, he was considered and called by many in the media. He was called a bust. He was called a bust because he was the number 1 pick, and they said he did not live up to his potential that they drafted him for. The key word in there is potential. When you draft a 17-year-old kid straight out of high school, is not proven that you're drafting him off of what he did in high school, and he has the potential to be great. Doesn't mean he will be. But they beat this man down for all these years and years and years while he was in the league, said he was a scrub. And, Stephen A. Smith got on him all these years. There's tape of him doing what he does because everyone knows what Stephen A. Smith does. But this was the narrative around Kwame Brown for years and years and years. And at the time, no one ever heard Kwame Brown speak back. No one ever heard Kwame Brown stand up for himself. Nobody ever heard a peep out of Kwame Brown. Some people said they didn't know Kwame Brown could talk until now. That's how quiet he was. But he was called a bust. He was called a scrub. He was called all these different names, but he was on 7 different NBA teams. Now I'm going to break this down to you, and then I'm going to get into something. An NBA roster consists of 15 players. They can carry 20 in the offseason, and they can carry 2 two-way players on a roster. So if you can only have 15 players, that means in a year, there's 450 players in the NBA. 450 out of the millions of people in the United States of America, there's only 450 people in the NBA. The average career for an NBA player is 4.5 years. Kwame Brown lasted 13. Average career earnings for an NBA player, 24.7 million. Kwame Brown made over 63 million. An NFL player makes on the average 6.1 million. Major League Baseball player makes about 17.9, and the NHL player makes 13.6. Average career earnings, that's what the numbers are. Kwame Brown made 63 million. He lasted 13 years. He beat the odds as being number 1 pick, but they still called him a bust. The minimum NBA salary is $925K, $925,000 for probably the last person down on the other end of the bench. They probably don't see no time. Now, I say that to say this. Disrespect of what someone does, who someone is, what they stand for, and who they are as a person. We got to do better. Athletes are human beings first and foremost. They have families, they have children. And when you continue to call these people busts or want to spit on them or throw popcorn at them and do all these things you want to do because they're an athlete, trust and believe they have family members that see the disrespect that you have towards their family member. So if someone comes up and slaps the dog out of you because you disrespected their family member because he can't do it, take the blow. You just got to take it. But Kwame Brown has come out over the last 2-3 weeks, and he's been tearing them up. Because on the All the Smoke podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, they talked about Kwame Brown because they were talking to Jeannie Buss, who was the owner of the Lakers. And she mentioned that they did a trade at one time, and they traded Paul Gasol. They got Paul Gasol from Memphis, I think, at the time. Kwame Brown and a whole bunch of other people got traded to Memphis. And in that draft, Kwame Brown, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes were joking around, and one of them said to Jeannie Buss, there was only one person in that draft. In that trade. Basically trying to say that Kwame Brown wasn't even a thought. So that's what sparked Kwame Brown to come out and start throwing flamethrower. He came up with his flamethrower. Now, I don't appreciate the fact that they got into the point of being personal about things. But the bottom line, you've disrespected this man for his whole career, and now you're still talking about him after his career. He has a right to speak up. I don't agree with everything he said, but he's dropping gems. And the thing about it is this: you can't expect someone that you disrespected for all those years not to finally come out and say something to you. To you. And he brought it up in the fact that these are his own people. These are his supposed to be the fraternity of NBA players disrespecting him even after he's not playing anymore. But one thing that I would raise up, because I'm gonna leave this alone right here, but one thing I would raise up to Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson when they talk about Kwame Brown, and people that play basketball, follow sports can understand this. Kwame Brown may have been a #1 draft pick that didn't pan out to be exactly what he was, what they thought he would be. Michael Jordan drafted him. He didn't want to draft him. The owner made him draft him, cut and dry. Michael Jordan disrespected him. That's the way it was said, that he didn't treat him the way he should have been treated, didn't groom him or none of that kind of stuff. I don't know the full story. This is what we hear. But we all know that if this man was a #1 draft pick, the potential was there. He didn't pan out to be what they thought he should have been or what they thought he would be, but he lasted 13 years. So does that say more about Kwame Brown's game, or does it say more about the owners who kept signing him to contracts for him to make $63 million over 13 years? So who's the scrub, or who is the bust in this? Is it the player, or is it the owners who continue to dole out the money? You be the judge. I'm just putting it out there. Because if I'm still getting paid $20 million, 5, 8, 6, 7, 12, whatever million dollars a year by an owner, who are you to tell me that I'm a bust or a scrub because you don't think I can play? He paying me. I can sit at the end of the bench, but I'm getting paid. Now with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, this is where it comes into play with me. You call him a scrub, you call him a bust, but y'all were role players on the teams you were on. What does that make you? There's jealousy and envy somewhere in here where, because he was the #1 pick and they were picked so low or weren't even thought about when they got drafted or whatever, you got to weigh it. They may have had better long-term careers, but they were all in the NBA, where there's only 450 players per year. And this disrespect about who, what, when, where, and why, as far as you're a scrub, you're a bust, you were picked #1, but you didn't pan out and all this kind of stuff. Come on, people. It ain't that serious. It's not that serious. But then when you get on the TV for shock value to continue to talk about this man to prove your point or make a point that you want to make, come on. I say that because we all are accountable for our actions. We're all accountable when we disrespect or when we're disrespectful or being disrespected. Deal with people on the level you want to be dealt with. Throwing popcorn, spitting at people, talking down on people, all that kind of stuff. Come on. Come on. That's what kids do. And what do we do with kids? We hold them accountable. Most time you go home, somebody tell you, you be talking about somebody, your parents they handle their business. Go get my belt. Go get my belt. But I see this and I'm watching it play out, and it doesn't sit well with me, because at the end of the day, these are successful. Let me just put it in this way. These are successful Black men in their craft, but they're jockeying for position of, I'm going to talk about you because I have the microphone. I'm going to call you what I want because I have the microphone. But at the same time, when I was on the team with you, I called you my brother. Which one is it? Choose wisely. Because now that he's striking back, you have an issue with it. Now that he's speaking his mind, you have an issue with it. But for the 13 years, Stephen A. Smith talked about this young man who was 17 years old, coming from Brunswick, Georgia, who at one time didn't even have shoes because he wore size 13 and had to walk around barefoot. They talked about this young man to the manner of, he just got quiet. He never said anything, but he's sure speaking now. Y'all brought this on yourself. Just saying. You brought it on yourself. Stop disrespecting people.